There's always been an innovation economy, and JP Morgan has an entire business dedicated to helping it thrive. By bringing together founders, startups, investors, and ideas, JP Morgan's commercial bank helps empower thousands of high-growth companies that are shaping the present and the future. With tailored banking solutions and a global business network, JP Morgan helps innovators scale for today and tomorrow. Visit jpmorgan.com/startups to find out how they can help you build your future. Products and services of JP Morgan Chase & Company and its affiliates are subject to availability, eligibility, and applicable terms and policies. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Hey everyone, this is TechCrunch Live. Our tagline is we help founders build better venture-backed businesses, but really, I'm just here to make friends. So week after week, I have VCs and founders on this show, and we talk everything about fundraising to product market fit, but we don't talk that much about the fit between a VC and then also a founder. And that's what we're going to do today. So I have Cathy Gao from Sapphire Ventures and Michelle Longmire from founder and CEO of Medable. And they're a great pair to talk on this topic. I'm going to read you a quote that Michelle wrote about Cathy, and they don't know I'm doing this. Cathy goes above and beyond most investors. She's an integral part of Medable. She provides valuable business insights and rolls up her sleeves to help the team with any needs, no matter how big or small. Cathy is incredible founder focused and is a thought partner and a true champion through the ups and downs of building a rapidly scaling business. But there are countless VCs out there, and there's even more founders. It's like speed dating with pitch decks and term sheets. So you as a founder, how do you find your Cathy? That's what we're talking about today. But before that, I have to tell you about TechCrunch Disrupt. Our annual event is back and in person this year. It's October 18th through the 20th. In addition to the 4 stages of content, all of our podcasts are recording live. There's equity, there's chain reaction, and there's found. So yeah, this is cool. And this is the first time we're doing this. I hope you can come out and watch. There's Alex, Marianne, and Natasha. They do equity. And then there is Lucas and Anita. They do the crypto-focused chain reaction podcast. And then there's Jordan and Daryl who host Found. So come out and check them out. I feel like I need a coupon code to invite all the listeners. I don't have a coupon code. I'm going to get one of those for next week. So this week, though, how do you find the best partner to help fund and grow your business? Michelle and Cathy, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Fun to be here.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, let's start with you. How did you connect with Cathy?
Sure. So, as a founder and, having been really, fundraising for Medable for now almost 7 years, I'm always on the hunt for really the venture partner who's going to help me drive the company forward. And I think that, one of the really important aspects of this is looking for referrals from people that you know and you've already worked with. So I was very lucky to meet Cathy through one of our existing investors, a very early seed investor who made the connection to Cathy. And, someone who's recommending someone and you already know it, really trust, it goes a long way. And then of course, I had the chance to meet Cathy, and I think it was very clear that she had a passion for what we were doing, and she just brought a lot to the table for me as I was trying to grow the business.
Now you have raised a lot for Medable. How much have you raised?
We have raised over $500 million, over $500 million.
And the company is worth around $2 billion right now?
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's an incredible number. You've talked to a lot of investors. So how did you know right away that Cathy would be a good fit for your company?
Sure. I think, it's not that you don't want to do your own diligence, because I think you meet someone and you think, wow, okay, this person's really smart. They're passionate. Cathy herself has hypergrowth startup background, which I thought that's very important because, as a founder, the closer your investing team is to the realities of what you're actually going through, I think that, reduces that bridge or creates a bridge and reduces that gap. But I think, one of the other aspects, and kind of as I was researching, working with Cathy and Sapphire in general, was speaking with other founders who had had the chance to work with Sapphire, both Cathy Cathy and Dave. And across the board, every founder had incredible stories about working with them. And, that in and of itself was really strong evidence and was very compelling for me, because I think, all founders here today watching this know it's very, very hard. It's very hard to build a business. Even in the most successful phases, the challenges are enormous. And so, having those founder references about Cathy, and then my personal connection with her as I had the chance to get to know her, it became pretty clear that they were the partner to go forward with. And in that phase, it was a very competitive round. We had 4 term sheets, all of the funds we liked a lot, but really it was the fit that we thought that Dave and Cathy brought. And specifically, loving Cathy's startup background was really what enabled me to go forward and make that decision. And it was, at the time, we had a lot of options.
Yeah, absolutely. Cathy, we've talked about you for 7 minutes now and you haven't said one word.
I'm too embarrassed.
Yes, I'm sure at this point. What do you think Sapphire brings to the table?
Yeah, at Sapphire, we're a firm that is all about helping find, partner with, but also to build what we like to call internally companies of consequence. And we love to partner with visionary founders. We're all about that. And in order to do that, the venture capital ecosystem is a very competitive one, right? And in order to stand out, we feel like we have to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk in terms of helping to actually partner and build. So a big part of our strategy is we provide a whole host of what we call portfolio support services to our portfolio company. So you get every investor at the firm, every partner knows about Medable and would jump in to help Michelle and her team at the drop of a hat. But we have an entire team also dedicated day in and day out to provide the BD, the talent, and the community connectivity support and resources for Sapphire. And
going into this interview, both of you had one thing on mind. You both wanted to talk about the mission of Medable, and I think that's fantastic. I just want to know, how do you line up the mission with Medable and then a mission with the venture capitalist? Michelle, let's start with you.
Sure. So our mission is to enable effective therapies to reach patients faster by revolutionizing drug development. And many people may not know, but drug development, specifically the clinical trial part of that process, is extraordinarily complicated. The status quo is 12 years and $2.6 billion. And so, everyone at Medable believes that therapy should be developed faster so that we can bring cures and better treatments to people all over the world. Now, what's important to me as the founder, CEO, and also a physician is that our investors believe this is an important problem to solve. I fundamentally believe that really provides their own that puts their skin in the game. It makes them have more dedication to some of the challenges we may face. Because let's face it, this isn't, consumer internet. It has its own, distinct and unique challenges. So I'm looking for investors who believe this is a problem that should be solved and are willing to go the distance to make it happen. And that was definitely, as we were looking in the round that we closed with Sapphire, one of the criteria was, is this a venture firm and individuals who are really passionate about what Medable's mission is?
Yeah, no, Cathy, a little slightly different question, but what advice do you give to a founder, that top of the funnel look? How do they filter out everybody to find that VC firm that fits their mission statement?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And it's confusing out there for founders, right? Especially first-time founders, because there are quite literally hundreds, if not thousands, of VC firms and certainly thousands of partners globally who could potentially fund your business. What I would say is, look, do your homework, right? First of all, figure out what that firm and specifically what that individual partner has typically invested in the past. I'm talking about stage, business model, and also geography. And so make sure at the high level, those are aligned. And then you just have to meet people. I know now we're living in a Zoom world, which makes it very easy to connect with people, even if they're on opposite sides of the globe. Be very, very mindful of the questions you ask them. I would say ask them explicitly, what drives you? What inspires you when you look at companies and really try to get to the crux of it. And the easiest way is just to ask them.
Yeah, I like that. Now, Michelle brought along their Series C pitch deck, and that's when Sapphire came in, right?
That's right.
Yeah, let's bring that up. This is actually the second slide in the deck that Michelle provided me. The first slide was just a logo, so we're going to skip that. This slide is really neat because it's investor highlights. So I'm back to you, Cathy. Can you explain to me what this does to a pitch deck, what from an investor point of view?
Absolutely. Your first slide of your deck, minus again the cover page, is what everyone, you're going to have 100% of people's focus on that very first slide. So you want to start it with a bang, right? And I think what Medable team did here really well is they brought all the highlights. They're saying, hey, I'm going to tell you exactly why our opportunity is so incredibly exciting in one slide in 6 short bullet points. I think really capitalizing on that attention of every investor in the room is absolutely critical.
Yeah, great. Now, Michelle, I'll give you a second to talk to this slide. What does it say?
Yeah. So, it's funny because I'm looking back at this and today I'm like, oh gosh, I would make a couple key modifications. But, what we're highlighting is that this is the first digital disruption of clinical trials. So you think about many industries where you've got the first mover advantage when you go from paper or analog to digital. So that's really our bullet point 1. The second is that this is a unique technology that's solving a unique problem. And then the third is really the scale, that we are doing this all over the world and at a scale that really meets the need. The fourth bullet point is around that, we don't have to work with ancillary technologies, but that we provide kind of a soup to nuts solution for clinical trials.
Go
ahead.
What I like about this slide is that there's really no numbers. This is just all very high level, but they're concise and strong statements.
Exactly. And I think what we're trying to capture here is we are the market leader in, a market that is extremely meaningful and important. And
this was Series C. Do you remember how much this round ended up being?
Yes, I think it was $80 million.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at the next slide. Tell us about this one.
All right. So this slide is just, again, it's the punch points. It's to say, what is the problem we're solving? On average, it takes 4,300 or 12 years, days or 12 years to bring a new drug to market. Now imagine if you are living with a disease that is incurable. This is way too much time. Additionally, every day that it takes costs a pharmaceutical company $8 million because that's time that they're not in the market when the drug is on patent. So our mission at Medable is to get effective therapies to patients faster. So we're highlighting the problem, the big opportunity, and our mission.
I don't want to call you out, but I think you've said this a lot of times.
Our mission?
Yeah, your mission, the whole pitch statement. Yep. You've practiced this a lot. How many times do you think you've practiced?
Oh my gosh, like hundreds, I'm sure.
Yeah. That was a pro. And yeah, I would love to chime in on this slide too, because
please.
When you're talking to investors, you can't assume they're experts in whatever industry you're building. I was frankly new to the world of clinical trials when I first met Michelle and heard the story. But this slide right here, this is what I call the gut punch slide. Everyone in the world is, has received healthcare in some form or fashion. And when you see these numbers on the slide, you're like, oh my gosh, does it really take that long? Is it really that much money? And if we were able to make it faster and cheaper for the world, what impact would that have on humans? And I think this page really illustrates that and brings that to life.
Well, I want to go back to something you just said, though, that this was new to you. This is a new market, new product, right? So your mission statement isn't necessarily about medical startups, but rather something else. Yeah. I believe you told me that it's finding the transformational company that's at an intersection of.
Absolutely. So for Sapphire, we are hyper focused on funding B2B software companies that are really, we feel like, at a pivotal point in a larger global transformation as it pertains to technology. right? Again, I was not an expert in clinical trials whatsoever, but I did know enough and realize enough that, especially with the onset of COVID, it was triggering a major change in this already massive industry. This industry is tens of billions, if not more, globally. And what I was able to see early on, along with the folks on my team, is that, wow, there's a big a seismic technological shift happening here. And we want to back the founders who are building something that will be at the forefront of this change.
Anything to add to that, Michelle?
Yes, I think, what exactly Cathy was talking about, when founders are looking for that match, another, aspect which was so appealing about Sapphire was their background in SaaS companies. So Medable, we want to solve this problem and bring technology leverage. We want to do that through a software as a service platform. So the background that Sapphire is bringing to the table in developing a world-class software company, specifically a SaaS software company, was extremely appealing because, you could solve this problem through a number of different approaches, but we're out to build a leading SaaS company.
Now, like you said, you've raised $500 million. Now, I'm sure there's some investors out there that are not at the same level in your head. How do you handle disagreements?
It's a great question. I think that I tend to really thrive through generating consensus, but ultimately making the hard decision. So, I think our board, one of our differentiators at Medable is the strength of our board. And we've got physicians, we have experts in SaaS technology, we have people who have built multi-billion-dollar technology companies in life sciences. So I'm always looking for input from our board members, but ultimately, they really appreciate me making the final call to say, hey, I appreciate the input, but this is the direction we need to go, because I think at the end of the day, I have the full context. And that's an important, part of the decision making, but certainly looking for their really important input. And each of our investors, has a different subset of knowledge and areas where their input is going to weigh more, depending on what the challenge is in front of us or what we're looking to do.
Well, let's go to the next slide. Tell us about this one.
All right. So what this is highlighting is, you've got the $77 billion market. That's the market size if you do this on paper, which is really interestingly the status quo. And it's saying, here's 4 aspects of what happened in taking a drug to market in the process of an approval. And each of these is a distinct part of the process and takes its own amount of time. What the Medable platform does is it consolidates these, which are manual, human-led services, and provides an end-to-end technology solution so that you can develop a drug at lower cost and you can do it much faster. And this is actually something that we've recently published on through a peer-reviewed publication to show that taking this from status quo to a tech-first process generates a 13x return on investment for a phase 3 clinical trial, which that type of technology leverage has actually not been shown before.
Why do you think you guys are the first ones doing this?
Well, I think that we were the first to say, let's do this with technology and not human services as in addition to that technology. So there were other companies in the space that looked at this problem, like you take recruitment, and they would say, okay, we can do recruitment, but let's do it with a little bit of tech and also human services. And really what I saw as the opportunity, being at Stanford, being in Silicon Valley, was technology is the leverage that provides us phenomenon like we see in Moore's Law. And we really have to focus as a company on the problem that we're going to solve and how we're going to solve it. So we have uniquely taken all of that, $500 million, and thankfully there's still a lot in the bank, but and focus those resources and our team on the technology part of this equation. And I think that's what actually makes us very different.
Cathy, you're nodding along here.
I completely agree. Just to reiterate, we are software and technology investors, right? We were so excited about Medable for a plethora of different reasons, but at the crux of it, they're building transformational software for this massive industry. And Matt, just to go back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, about disagreements and how, the board and the company deals with that in general, I wanted to chime in here because I think the important thing to note is it's so important for a founder and founding team and board to be aligned on the vision and the mission. So where are we going? Where is the end goal? We have to be absolutely aligned on that. But it's natural to have disagreements and healthy discussions on how the path there, like what that path will exactly look like. And what I've really enjoyed about working with Michelle is not only is she a wonderful communicator, she's just also incredibly open, but also, again, like she said, makes the tough decisions. And I have to throw this in here because I love this. I love the story. Michelle was a college varsity athlete and was voted most coachable player. And I think a lot of that carries into how she works with the board.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cathy.
That is such an underrated skill, to be coachable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, at the end of the day, we just want to be the best we can be, and ultimately to solve this hard problem. And I think one, of the areas that Medable brings leverage is everyone at Medable is so passionate about really facilitating a better way to bring therapies to people. And, at the end of the day, then you're always open to how to do that better and what the best pathway to get there is.
Let's take a look at the next slide. I think this will help you illustrate that point. So tell us about this.
Okay, great. So what this is showing is that, status quo is that 7% of drugs in development make it to market. And of course, if we were to say, hey, that's because they don't work or they're not safe. But the number one reason that drugs don't actually get through the development process or through the clinical trial process is for failure to enroll patients. Only 3% of people living with a condition are ever even presented with an opportunity or enroll in a clinical trial. Now, as we saw with COVID, you have unique moments in time where those numbers go up because people are aware. It also highlights, hey, if there was more awareness, we could actually get much higher levels of participation. And it's really that as people enroll in clinical research and the technologies are convenient, they work with their lives, then they stay in the clinical research process. Those drugs will actually get through the clinical development process much faster and at a much lower cost. Additionally, what we're looking at is that 30% of the drug development process, and I think this is an underestimation, is 100% manual. Again, if we want to see real tech leverage, we need to bring technology into the equation as we have in most other industries. So we think that, the status quo is ripe for disruption. And what you see there is the disrupt arrow and showing that we're digitizing recruitment. We're analyzing data that's being collected in real time. We can understand if drugs are safe and effective earlier. That's our goal. We are looking at, connecting patients and researchers and making it convenient for patients so they have access and they can stay in clinical trials. And we're reducing the number of visits so that it's, again, not a burden, and people, once they have enrolled, they're not unenrolling in the clinical trial process. And then finally, as you think about the status quo, you might be running a 4-year trial, looking at that data on an ongoing basis, but really deeply analyzing it at the 2-year mark. Why not look at that continuously? Why not understand what's working and even make adjustments and modifications? So as you can see, the status quo really has a huge opportunity for improvement. And that's where Medable is hyper-focused. And we're doing that in ways that really work for patients.
There is a lot of information on this slide. It's really dense. And Cathy, I just want your investors' eyes. What are your eyes drawn upon?
Well, the obvious answer here, Matt, is the big word disrupt, right?
I love that word. That pays my bills.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially for TechCrunch. There are a lot of numbers on the slide, right? But the thing that I really hone in on, if I just take a quick glance at this, is that it is a massive market and a massive problem today in that there are so many ways to make this process, this very important process, more efficient. And what Medable is doing is they're using their own proprietary cloud-based technology and solving some of those problems to make this whole process more streamlined, more cost-effective, and ultimately, again, deliver effective therapies to patients faster, which is, again, why everyone on Team Medable, including the board, is working so hard, because we believe in that mission. And so I think this slide, even though there's a lot of information on it, does a really, really good job in crystallizing exactly what impact the software platform is having on this very major industry.
I've been doing this show for almost a year now, and I'll have to say that you two are clearly the most aligned I've ever had of a founder and an investor fit. You're both running towards the same goal, and it's obvious. Can you, Michelle? Can you give me just a 101 and how do you educate your investors?
So I've certainly learned that, keeping people in the loop matters a lot, but I think it's easy to do that when the guidance they're providing you find valuable. So, it's about ensuring that we've got an open communication channel. So I probably talk to Cathy on a weekly basis, and it's not because it's on my calendar and I'm saying, hey, call Cathy. It's because something's top of mind that I want to get her input on. And so, I think as a founder with your investors, there can be a very wide gap around the reality of what you're dealing with and then the snippets of information that they're getting. So, one of the things that I've learned is that if you can keep your communication open, then everyone has much better context. And, whether it's your team or your investors, context is everything. And so, but yeah, I think that, really that's because I'm tapping into, Cathy's input on really key things, but I'm keeping her up to speed on some of the critical developments.
So if I was to boil that down, I think it's consistent communication and then keeping people in the loop, right?
Absolutely. Keep that gap small between the context of what you're dealing with and the information you're providing to your investors.
And treat them like a partner rather than just an investor.
Exactly. And that's a two-way street too, because when people treat you as a partner and they see you as a leader, then, there's no resistance and you're not battling that.
Yeah. Cathy, over to you. How do you like to be informed from your companies?
I always joke with founders that when they think about looking for an investor and a good investor fit, think about it like how you would think about any long-term partner, right? Because at the end of the day, the VC investor and founder relationship, it is almost like a long-term marriage. You're together and in a partnership for years, right? And so you want to look for ease of communication, ability to communicate, right? We've all been there where two people are talking and they're saying stuff, but they're not connecting on the same issues. You want to make sure you have that base in terms of relationship. And again, in a virtual world, it makes it easier to communicate in some ways, but in other ways, it makes it harder. So I think both parties need to make the effort to find ways of communication that really work for them and be consistent about it.
What about companies that have pitched you and you didn't invest? Do you still like to have updates from them?
Oh, absolutely. Again, venture is a very long-term business, right? And even if it's not a fit for us at that exact point in time, there's a possibility, a strong possibility that down the road it could be a fit for us. So I love to stay in touch with founders.
Yeah, great. Now, do we have any more slides to look at? I think we have one more. That's it. Okay, great. Well, this about concludes my interview with you. I think you two are so aligned that it's like talking to one person. I'm really impressed.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Well, really the last thing, Michelle, I think what's the future for Medable hold? When are you raising your next round?
Well, I think right now we're focused on really scaling. So last year we raised a significant round, and what's been exciting is we set out to do this to really be a new enterprise technology for life sciences. And now, our customer set is growing rapidly. So we're hyper focused on, delivering on our mission and making our customers happy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good canned answer you have for me. I appreciate that.
It's true. Hey, and
Yeah.
who's fundraising right now? I guess, certainly some people are, but it's also a good time to be heads down and executing, building, working with your customers on, longer term horizons.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you both for joining us. And we're not done yet today. We still have one more segment of TechCrunch Live. And it really kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about practicing. So every week we have pitch practice where you bring entrepreneurs on live and they present to us for 2 minutes. And then they get 4 minutes of feedback on their pitch. Because really what I want to drive home here is you have to pitch to everyone. And so with that being said, once again, thank you, but you guys are going to stick around. We're going to bring on our first company, and our first company's founder's name is Eugene. He's the co-founder and CEO of Sophie's Bionutrients.
That's correct.
Great. Eugene, how are you?
Good. What about you guys?
We're great. Thanks for asking. A lot of people ask, but I really think you care.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have 2 minutes to present your company, sir, starting now.
All right. My name is Eugene. I'm not Sophie, as you can tell. I'm Sophie's dad, if you want her name. So my daughter Sophie is allergic to shellfish. I was looking for a way for people to get the nutrition out of the ocean without using the animal. Well, it turns out we stumbled on something much bigger. So the whole world knows now that we have to look for a new protein that's sustainable, that is no known allergen, that is even with complete nutrition. Problem is, the plant-based protein you have in the market today, they're not only full of allergens, they're not complete nutrition. Varieties are not enough. They still need a lot of water, a lot of land, a lot of wonderful weather to grow. So those are key issues. That's why we developed this technology using fermentation to grow microalgae for the protein, and especially we isolate the protein, not just sell you the biomass. The beauty with fermentation, as you can possibly imagine, it is a lot more efficient, less water, less space, less time, less energy. And on top of that, because we use fermentation, you get a protein flour that's neutral in color, unlike this nutraceutical supplement microalgae protein flour, which is heavy in color and also very fishy in smell. Ours is not, because they grow in the dark fermentation tank. That kind of protein flour will be very suitable for you, for food manufacturers, to use in all kinds of plant-based food, plant-based meat, cheese, milk, all kinds of food product applications. And quite frankly, we are just in talk with a big customer in Mexico. They have presence in US and Southern Europe. They plan to use our protein flour to launch a line of plant-based cheese next year in the US. Hopefully, you get to try a plant-based cheese that's made with our microalgae protein flour that's full of all kinds of nutrition, complete essential amino acids, all the vitamin B that you never saw in the plant-based protein, plus iron. And you can see this is not only another sustainable protein, it will be a super nutritious protein as well. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. My daughter is allergic to everything on earth, and I really appreciate your drive here. Okay, Cathy, let's start with you. Any feedback on the pitch?
Well, first of all, great to meet you, Eugene, and I think you did a fantastic job. I love the fact that you started with something personal, right? Your daughter, Sophie, it was a little bit of a joke, but also a personal hook it made me lean forward in my seat a little bit because I want to know a little bit more about Sophie. I would say just a couple points of feedback. Number one, you could slow down. I know this is a rapid fire pitch and you want to squeeze as much information as possible.
Yes.
But if you slow down a little bit, you can emphasize certain things that you really want to shine through to the investor, because it was a lot of information in 2 minutes. The second thing I would say is, it's tough sometimes in a short pitch to throw out numbers, but in this case, I don't know how big this market is. My gut tells me it's huge, but throwing in a couple numbers just to frame the size of the opportunity would be personally helpful for me.
That's great feedback. Michelle?
Yeah, it's very similar feedback to Cathy. I love that you opened with your daughter. I think that does create that personal kind of connection, and everyone wants to understand what are you going after. I think this is a highly relevant area in terms of, plant-based food and sustainable food in general. Similar to what Cathy said, I think paint the picture of what the future looks like when you're successful. And so what is that market size? What are you going after? And I've also found, venture always likes to know, what does this compare to in a frame that they already understand? So what's been the market for Beyond Meat or Impossible Foods? Make some comparisons there to a company they may already know that's much farther down the road, but highlight how you're different. I think that frame provides something that's very valuable for how they're trying to contextualize the information.
That was great feedback. All right. I think Eugene agrees.
Yep.
Totally. All right.
But I love it, Eugene. Great work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Keep at it. Please keep me in the loop. My 13-year-old, she loves cheese, but she can't have it.
Definitely.
So I appreciate that.
Love that. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. On to the next one. Next one, we have Janice William Oliver. Miss T's Wants to Know, Inc. Janice, are you there?
Yes, I'm Janice Williams Oliver.
Oh, my bad. Typo on my end.
That's okay. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, you have 2 minutes to present your company, and starting now.
Okay. Well, hi, my name is Janice, and I am founder and CEO of Misty Wants to Know Incorporated. It's 2022, And there is no tool that is sold by the Dysons or the L'Oreals of the world that maintains curly, coily hair or textured hair like mine. All the tools are for altering or straightening hair like mine. And over 60% of the world population and the US population does not have straight hair. Misty Wants to Know Incorporated is a product company that was founded to serve an emerging market with significant unmet needs in the $5 billion hairstyling tools company. On B2B2C, subscription model, the Misty Pro handheld steaming tool with its oil-filled pods releases an oily steam or a softening formulation to detangle hair fast. This is a hardware software data collection play. That's the part 2. I am a Procter & Gamble Beauty WWD media winner. I've been able to prove the discharge of the oily steam working with my former L'Oreal chemist. I filed my first non-provisional patent and my PCT. And I have a LOI or letter of intent with Maven, and they have access to over 50,000 stylists, and they also have a relationship with Walmart. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to pitch to you, and I look forward to any questions you have.
Janice, you have so much passion here. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Michelle, we're going to start with you this time.
Well, I think that, end to end, you did such a phenomenal job. You highlighted the problem, you highlighted the market, and the pace with which you pitched was, very much applaudable. Great work. I think, additional, if I were to be nitpicky, it would be great to hear what users say. I think that, hey, here are some of the things that our customers say. And then I would also say, if you look forward, in addition to the $5 billion market, and you want to raise money, what are you raising money for? So you could say something to the effect of, this next round of funding is going to get us X, Y, Z, so that, you can show that progress you're looking to make in the next phase.
That's perfect. Cathy, over to you.
Very similar to Michelle. I think you did a fantastic job, Janice. You have that amazing radio voice personality, just like Matt, which I think is just amazing. Again, if I'm to be nitpicky, 2 things that I would suggest is, 1, talk about what's currently on the market. I know there are some companies that are focused on curly hair, women and people in the market today, but what are they and where are they falling short? And the second bit is you kind of tease this a little bit. You said it's a data play in the future. And me being a software and kind of big data investor, that definitely piqued my interest, but I wanted to know more. How are you going to use the data that you collect, and what are you going to do with it in the future?
I liked it too, and I'll throw something in there as well. The only question that I was left with is your go-to-market strategy on this. It's really hard to create a marketplace. You're doing so many different aspects, right? And you're trying to go to market. I just want to know how you're going to do that. I believe whatever you're going to do is going to be successful.
Thank you.
I was just curious what it was.
Well, I do have a whole go-to-market deck. I'm a Kellogg MBA, so that's my strength. So absolutely. I wish that I could have told you guys more, but I only had 2 minutes.
Yes. Well, we shared your URL on all of our channels, so we're sending people your way.
Thank you very much. This was a great experience. I appreciate it.
Janice. Keep in touch.
Great work.
Thank you very much. And that kind of wraps up today's episode. We only had 2 companies present. Next week, we're going to be back with 3 more companies. And the following week is TechCrunch Disrupt. And is that right? 2, 3? 1 week off. So we have 2 more shows before Disrupt, and then we're going to be live and in person. Well, Cathy, Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today. I learned a lot. I hope everyone did as well. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt.